Okay, out of the box, this is pretty much how the window is going to come in. It's going to be wrapped in plastic. It's going to have a bunch of bubble wrap that you have to undo out of a bunch of cardboard paper, and then back to the window. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take off this rubber seal that goes all the way around the glass so that we can, in turn, put the proper rubber seal on it. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look around the glass to make sure that there's no chips or dings in any of the edges. Clean it up a little bit and then get it ready to put the new rubber on. Okay, it's always good to test fit the trim. I kind of put the trim together, held it with some tape so the sharp edges wouldn't come loose. And then what we did was we laid the trim up in to see where it's going to set. And this particular corner trim sits on the outside of the other trim, so this will hold the other trim down. So we want to make sure that we are able to clip to these two clips. Make sure your clips are in the right spot before you put the glass in. So right now, these two clips appear to be in the right spot. So when we do go to put the trim on, they should snap down and hold these two pieces of trim down securely. We're going to go through and do the same thing with the rest of them to make sure that all of these corners are in the right spots. Okay, what we have here is our 3M auto bedding and glazing compound, and that's what we're going to put a small piece of I've used the smallest hole I have possible. We'll see how this works. We're going to put some around each of the clips, and then we're going to follow with a bead all the way around before we put the glass in. I have some paper towels floating around because this stuff is probably going to get messy. At least that's what people tell me, and I probably tend to agree with believing them. It's definitely hard to get out of the tube. I'm going to put some around each of these clips just to try to secure as much as I can from getting wet and leaking in the future. Once I get a good bead on here, what we're going to do is kind of rub it around on the clip. Make sure that it's sticking. The car's not going to see much rain, but if it does, car washings, things like that, I want to make sure that at least the inside is going to stay as dry as we can get it. Now, one thing, when we put a bead of this material around here before we put the seal in, the seal is going to set down on here and it's going to make a bit of a mess on your rope. It's going to make a bit of a mess on your inside seal, so it's probably good to have some adhesive remover or some kind of a solvent so that you can clean the inside of the rubber once this goes in. And my understanding is that from all the instructions that I've seen is just put a small bead all the way around this, and I'm going to try to spread it out a little bit with my gloved hands. is not the neatest stuff in the world to deal with, but it actually hasn't been bad so far. I'm sure it's going to get worse once I rope the glass in. You want a continuous bead so you don't have any gaps. I actually thought about using some of the 3M trim adhesive, the round rolled stuff. I don't know if it would work or not. It sure seems like it might be a little cleaner. Called 3M strip caulk. That may be something I try on the next window. Okay, that gets me all the way around it. I hope I have enough to do another window here. Now what we're going to do is get my gloves all messy and kind of smush this down just a little bit, also to make sure that we have a wide groove that this is covering and there's no gaps. May run into somewhere it was a little thin. Make sure these clips get really good. So the clips is probably where the leak would come if it's going to come. The rubber does a pretty decent job, but the clips leave an area that's definitely a vulnerability. I am fortunate that the interior is out of this car, so if any falls in, it's not going to cause me any great pain. And it's always good to have a good amount of paper towels floating around. Pick some of the goop up, put it where it didn't cover so well. I think we're good. Now we're going to go rope a glass in and we'll be back to put this thing in. Okay, you're going to take the rubber, and the one thing that's going to be important is you want, when you're looking at the rubber, you want this lip to be on the bottom side, because this is the area that you're going to put the rope in and you're going to actually lip it into the inside of the car. So this has to go down. So you have to look at the window configuration. This is the inside of the window, so you want this lip on the top. Then you're going to look and find out where the edges look like they align most. And typically, we try to start in a corner, so we know that that's where the glass is going to go. And then you start sliding it onto the glass. And this is a tedious, time-consuming process, but it has to be done. Sometimes it might make more sense to have it held up against you so that you can pull down on the lip. Make sure your rubber is nice and pliable. This rubber is actually quite pliable. This came from Corvette Central. Since you're pulling toward yourself, trying to stretch this rubber out, you probably want to be able to get some tension on the glass against yourself. Now we're starting to make it around the corner. Just keep working it and it'll eventually come. We're almost there. Okay, we've got the rubber on the glass. You should have a nice fit around here, making sure that the rubber is totally pulled onto the glass. Probably wouldn't hurt to let it sit a little bit. It probably doesn't hurt if you put the rubber in the sun for a little bit, let it soften up. But we did not need to do that. So the very next step is going to be to actually pull the rubber out where we're going to put the rope. We're going to put the rope around this and get ready to rope this thing in. What we're going to do is start with the other window first because I've got more of the clips set up, but we will rope it in. We'll set it up in the back of the car to where the rope is up near the top forward part of the car. We'll set the glass in and then we'll start pulling the rubber, and we'll show some video of exactly how that's going to happen. So stick with us and we'll be back at you. Okay, we went to our local Home Depot store and got some 3/16 diamond braided rope. I'll cut this open. And we're going to cut a piece off that's large enough to go around this glass plus a little bit. We got plenty of rope, so what we can always do, if the rope gets really nasty with the bonding agent, what we can do is cut a new rope. We'll be done. So, I want to have enough rope to go around about a time and a half. Okay, so you have to think about how it's going to go in the car. And you'll notice that the wider section, which is this one, will be at the top of the car. And this is where I want my starting point to be. So if you were to turn this glass over, it would be sitting in the car just like this. So what we're going to do is we are going to leave some excess, and we're going to start filling the cavity where the body would normally fill. And what we're going to use this rope for is to actually pull the rubber gasket to the inside of the car. So we want to run this all the way around. I'm going to go ahead and tape this down to the glass so that we have easy access to it and it doesn't get pulled out. Just a little secret, this glass has already been in the car once. I wasn't happy that the glass installer that came to help me originally did not put any sealer between the rubber and the body. So I have elected to pull it out and waste the money that I paid him. But it was an education on how to get the glass in and how to do it without a lot of pain. The other thing I wasn't terribly pleased about was after he got halfway through the job, he decided that he wanted to charge me more than he initially quoted me because he said that he didn't know there was this much trim. I'm like, I don't think I'll need your services any longer, and I'll make a YouTube video and show others how to do the very same. So, I want to kind of pull it tight, make sure the rope's tight. Again, this tape is not sticking very well to the glass. I'm probably going to have to get some better tape. But the premise is to take this to the glass, set it in the car, and we'll go over the car and show you how to start roping it in. Okay, we're going to start here with a fresh pair of rubber gloves, just in case it does get a little messy like I probably think it will. And we're going to try to set the glass down in here. Make a little bit of room for the clips so that it drops down. You'll want to try to get the ropes started if you can. There we go. Takes a little bit to get it started. Once you get it started, there we go. Gradually work your way around. Sometimes you're going to have to hit it with the palm of your hand. You'll see the window starting to drop in. Open palm, not fist. And that's as simple as it gets. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go inside and make sure that all your rubber is setting down nice and tight. It'll all start pulling in. Then as you can see in here, you're going to have some residue that you're going to have to clean up. And I was fortunate, I didn't actually have to reach through and do anything. It's a one-person operation for this window. Rubber's nice and soft, looks like it's all in place. You can see all of my trim clips in place, so it's ready for the trim to go on. The one thing to recognize with the trim is that the trim does go between the body and the trim clips. So what you want to make sure of at each one of these is that you're going to have enough space with the rubber. The rubber is flexible enough to actually let that trim clip pop in. So just want to make sure that there's enough room. This one's fitting a little tight, like the glass. Might have a little bit of space there needed, but I think we'll be able to squeeze it in. It's going to probably ding up the paint a little bit when you put this trim in, so you have to be real careful. I'm going to call this one a day, other than what I am going to do is come back and I'm probably going to go up underneath each one of these, and I'll probably loosen it up like this with the caulk gun and go ahead and put some sealant all the way around the glass, just so that if any water does get on the glass, it doesn't wrap around the seal and drop into the car. So the next thing will be is fitting the stainless steel trim. Okay, now it's time to go ahead and clean up the gasket material where we had the 3M bedding compound that actually got on the edges of the gasket when we were installing the window. We're going to use the 3M general purpose adhesive cleaner, which is actually an adhesive removal. It is typically safe to normal paint. It's usually used to remove the residue from stickers on cars. So what we're going to do is wipe off the heavy stuff with a paper towel and then use some of this adhesive removal and see if it actually works out for us. The heavy stuff comes off pretty easy. And it appears the 3M adhesive remover does a fairly decent job at cleaning. Some paper towels. Yep, it's exactly what we needed. We'll get this all cleaned up, finish up the video, and get back at this. If you like our videos, don't forget to subscribe, tell your friends about it, and come back often. There's going to be more full octane information coming in the future.